Hello there, my name's Moldy and this video can be watched in 4K resolution. So for those of you that do have a 4K monitor, let me know how better this is compared to the regular videos. But there is a Lego set that can be built into 20 different themes, which is what I've brought you here today. And that set is Matteo and Zblob's mech, which is a 20-in-1 build. It's crazy they've managed to fit 20 designs. Not all of them are as good as, say, this mech, for instance, but each one of those builds does relate to a popular Lego theme or style of build that we'll be getting into in this video. But first, let's take a look at those minifigures. So taking a look at both of these minifigures, you can see Matteo is sporting that brand new torso, which isn't brand new at all. It's based off one of the old classic space torsos. I think it's the second generation of spacemen, and we've recently got a ton of them. We got one on the band wall and then got the rest of them, basically, all the other colors we could possibly ask for in a modular city spaceship. So it's nice to be getting this slimy Matteo version, which does have Zblob instead of the space logo and is so cool. Definitely a fine addition to my space collection. The detailed printing continues on the back of the torso, but with regular green arms and legs. And I believe it's the same head and hair that's used for Matteo in a few other sets. The pencil accessory is really nice. Reminds me of those really short IKEA pencils after you've sharpened them once or twice, and doesn't take too many bricks to stretch them out into the full length accessory we usually see. And then we've got Zblob. How can I not talk about Zblob? It's a brand new mold, which at the minute is exclusive to the new Dream sets. I don't think it's exclusive to this one, and it's very easy to drop. But you can see Zblob is now on the floor. Zblob does have a flared base, which is much more accurate to what we see in the Dreams show, and also allows it to go over the stud compared to in it, which is the last one I had, though there are a few other bigger Zblob variations. And I think we'll start straight away taking a look at the first build. Right here we have a mech, which is very reminiscent of all of the Marvel mechs we've been getting. There are quite a few, but specifically we've got Thanos' weapon on the left hand side. We have Iron Man's blaster, and then we have two weapons over the shoulder which have to be related to War Machine. I don't see this mech relating to anything else. It's not quite like any of the Ninjago or Monkey Kid mechs that I have seen, and I do think this does relate to some sort of Marvel mech, or just Lego mechs in general. We've seen them across Star Wars and a ton of other themes. Even Sonic now have their own mech, and it was an easy pick for them to choose a mech. We actually see not one, not two, but three mechs, and they're all the very first builds. Build number 2 is indeed a helicopter, and I wonder if any of you fans of the Lego games can tell me what theme this is before I bring it up. The helicopter itself is really cool. The propellers do spin, and these are the same ones included on the arms of the mech, which mean you've probably got enough pieces here to build a little bark speeder, because those pieces do come in quite handy. Zblob is sitting on the front of this helicopter, and I really like the way all of these rounded off and cheese slopes have been used to give the helicopter some more shape, even with its quite small size. I wish we got things like this in polybags, but this is representing, of course, Lego Batman. Yes, the Joker helicopter played a quite a big role in the games. I think you even need it for some missions, and Lego have released their fair share of parrots, but also their fair share of Joker helicopters. So I had to represent Lego Batman with this theme. And the tow on the back, because it's joined with a ball joint, can be raised and lowered depending on how you want this helicopter to look. But I think this is quite a nice build representing Lego Batman. Alright, we all know what this build is going to be. It's a Scorpion for Zblob to ride, and a pretty terrifying Scorpion at that, between the claws and the giant stud shooter on top. Say it with me, 3, 2, 1, Lego Chima. Okay, I realise that Lego Chima's getting to the point where some of you aren't even old enough to remember a theme all about animals, but they are slowly introducing themes from Lego Chima back into Ninjago. So hopefully the spirit of the animals kind of stays alive through all the villainous wolves. Yeah, I don't think they're too popular with kids, to be honest, but this Scorpion reminded me of one of the play sets from Lego Chima. I never got the chance to pick it up, but I do remember seeing it on shelves. It was one of the big sets that I really wanted. That, and there was also a crocodile one. And this Scorpion, I mean, it's a Scorpion. It could be some sort of creator build. There are a few others that probably go better with the creator line. I'm not even sure we have the creator line in these 20 themes, but Marvel's going to take the first one. We got Batman and now Lego Chima. A lot of these have been around for quite some time, but I also throw a few retired waves like Chima and a few of the new ones in the mix just for fun. Build 4. Now this is a go-kart if I've ever seen one. You cannot convince me otherwise. This right here is representing Mario Kart. Funnily enough, we've actually just got a brand new Mario Kart 18 Plus big display build, but I have previously built a few different Mario Karts here on the channel, and this one is modified since you last saw it. But the go-kart sizes up quite well to a, well, minifigure scale Mario Kart. I'm not even sure go-karts are meant to be this big. But as you can see with the Dreams one, Z-Blob is sat on top, and I'm starting to see a pattern with how Z-Blob is positioned on all of these builds. That 2x2 green jumper toe plate jumper thingy-majig is on every, well, it's underneath Z-Blob in every single one of these builds. So let's see how long that will continue. I'm not sure if this is the giant jets on the wings or the little blades hanging out the front, but this is 100% a classic old school Ninjago jet. I can't think of anything else that would use weapons at the front, and maybe like the new Speed Champions lines might be using it, but Ninjago did it first and had weapons and all sorts all around. And again, look at Z-Blob in the cockpit on top of that green 2x2. I think that's staying for the rest of these. The wings seem quite thin at the tips. I think they could have definitely benefited by adding even just one of the green studs that acts as the engines on the back, which again, really nice feature and is very Arc 170 or X-Wing related with that big engine. I guess it's more, yeah, less X-Wing. Anyway, I definitely drawn back to the old Ninjago days with this jet, and it's not going to be nice to break this down, but I'm excited to see what the next build holds. Well, what have we here? I genuinely almost didn't recognize this mech because Lego forgot to render in a few little studs in the instruction manual. But this is another mech, dual blades, very chunky mech. It's very thick. You can see we've got these dinosaur legs almost that you'll see on some of the dinosaur creator builds, and even the arms are double jointed and just a little bit extra. So this has to be, can be nothing else other than a Monkey Kid mech. Those mechs are very chunky and definitely have a few more joints and articulation, but thankfully the Monkey Kid designers are coming over to Ninjago, and I must say those new Ninjago sets are looking really, really cool. This mech seems a bit basic, and I do feel like given the first mech, which is definitely superior to this, this was a stylistic choice, which is pushing me further to the fact Lego are trying to recreate different themes in this set. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Yes, it actually is a plane. And I bet you'll not see this one coming because I've actually chosen to relate this to Indiana Jones. It's one of the most talked about points of Indiana Jones. The fact they didn't give us a Temple of Doom Lego set because of the implications, yet the pilots of these planes I can't even say without YouTube restricting my video, and let's just hope Z-Blob has stolen this and this isn't his plane. But I do like this little jet. It is pretty cool, especially at the tail at the end. At least there's not two seats with a gunner, though. Getting a Miss Z-Blob or another Z-Blob in a different color would be a really fun twist to implement in the new series of Dreams. But again, we got the propeller that does spin pretty fast. That's quite a nice build. And I also like the use of the ball joints here for some sort of engines perhaps out on the wings, but I think it's time to swiftly move on. This next build is much more recent, as it's a front wing and a halo away from being a little F1 car, but reminds me of the tiny turbos or the little Speed Champions style racers we used to get with the road tubs that would just fold out and then you could use them as ramps. And for that reason, I've related it to the more modern Speed Champions line, because we do get a load of racers, and especially with the F1 collab, we're seeing so many different race cars. And this reminds me of the make and take I recently built here March 1st on stream. So it is a really nice build, a bit bigger than the one that I picked up for the make and take, but this one definitely reminds me of those Speed Champion style racers. If you're around my age or perhaps a little bit older, you might remember a theme called Atlantis, which had a mixture of submarines and brick built like squids, and I think this is a combination of the two. You can see the green stud on the side definitely looks like the eye of a squid. We got a little propeller at the top to propel the submarine through the deep waters, and if you have been keeping an eye out, Z-Blob is once again on that 2x4 jumper plate tile thingy-majiggy and hasn't moved this entire time. But I'm gonna gloss over this a little bit because some of you might not remember the theme, and I think the next build is gonna be one of my favorite. As we approach the halfway mark in our quest to build 20 themes using this one set, I'm now realizing why LEGO have probably included that 2x2 jumper, and it's because Matteo also fits on these builds with that 2x2 space, holding Z-Blob and the weapon of choice, which is a pencil, which, you know, the pencil is wiser, smarter, mightier than the sword. I can't remember how that phrase goes. But this build is very reminiscent of two things. For any gamers out there, Fortnite recently saw some giant turtles, definitely like that. And for you readers, perhaps you've come across some books by Terry Pratchett, and it reminds me of one of those books. I can't remember which one, but this is indeed a turtle. And which theme has turtles? Which theme has any more popular turtles than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? That was a theme back in the day, and I so happen to be a master builder, speed builder if you will, at one of the Legoland events, building, I'm pretty sure it was Shredder's Speeder or something like that, and I almost set the record if I wasn't beaten last minute on the final day. I couldn't stand a chance. I couldn't come up against that. That was quite some time ago. But yes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles did have their own theme, and I like the little towel at the back of this turtle. But now knowing that Matteo can sit on top in Z-Blob's place, I don't think I'll be complaining about that jumper anymore. Star Wars fans, your time will come, but I'm afraid this is not one of those monks from Jabba's palace. And instead, I've chosen to go with a pretty recent theme that seems to have dipped off quite quickly, which I fear might be the same for a few other themes like Animal Crossing, but LEGO Avatar, specifically the crab suit that they wear when invading the Avatar world, as I do think it is very reminiscent, and I'm very surprised that LEGO haven't tried to equip some sort of turret coming over Z-Blob's shoulder, but I guess you don't need a weapon on all of these. But this definitely reminded me straight away of the crab suit, which is still actually available on a pretty good discount in certain LEGO stores. If you can find it, it is out of stock online. This build was definitely the weirdest because despite the missing rendered studs throughout the instruction manual, LEGO had you build each of these propellers on the side at different times, but they're the exact same build. Perhaps that has something to do with the age rating on the box, but this is straight up from LEGO Dreams. I'm not going to try and crisscross this with any theme. We need to have one Dreams ship built in this, and this is probably minifigure scale from the show at some point. I remember this sort of build showing up in another Dream set as well, so let me know if you know which set I'm talking about down in the comments. But this is a pretty straightforward build. Like I said, I am thrown off from building those two propellers differently. Look at them, they are absolutely identical. And again, we have Z-Blob in the middle, but there is space for Matteo. I have a feeling it was probably about this time that LEGO started running out of ideas, because Z-Blob does look a little goofy attached to the nose just like that. But this is 100% got to be City. No other theme will be wacky. No other theme could put out a build where the characters on the nose and get away with it without a bunch of fans coming for LEGO, besides LEGO City. If you did want to add Z-Blob to the top, there are some spare 1x1 slopes that you can put to the nose and two studs on the top to fit Z-Blob, though I think Z-Blob would probably collide with this front propeller, so you'd have to build out the nose a little bit more, but this is just completely wacky. Hopefully the next one gets a little bit better. This next build can be built almost entirely without breaking down the last one. I think the big change you'll have to make is instead of using the 2x2 white plates, just use the spare 2x4 grey plate that the last one didn't use. And here we have the X-Men jet. I consider X-Men and Spider-Man to be slightly different from the Marvel line. So this is representing the X-Men jet. And I've also still got it on my mind because I keep seeing it for like 10-15% off in my local stores and haven't picked it up. Maybe one day I'll make the purchase. But for now, I think this little build does pretty well. Another theme that's been on my mind quite recently is SpongeBob. So you can't forgive me for looking at this set and thinking straight of the Patty Wagon we got some time ago now. I think it's because of how small the build is and how grouped in it is. We've got like the hidden engines in these joints back here. It reminds me of the Lego build of the Patty Wagon, but to stop any confusion, I think we're going to call this Z-Blob's Patty Wagon. Well, I'm going to say it, I didn't think we'd have to wait this long until Star Wars. Wait, what do you mean this isn't Star Wars? This is the easiest Clone Wars AT-RT or even that dodgy looking one from The Last Jedi that we got for some reason in Lego with BB-8 on top. Well, apparently this isn't Star Wars. I have written down this is from Sonic the Hedgehog, Tao's mech, which I can kind of see the resemblance, but what on earth's going to be the Star Wars one? I guess we're going to have to stay tuned and find out. I don't think this is looking too bad. You can see a few little details from earlier builds like the brackets with the slope and the stud. From the race car, we've got the feet from the very first mech, and even these leg joints are used, creating a very similar pattern to the Scorpion Tau, but Lego, or the designers, have actually flipped the way the brackets are around just to mix it up a little bit, and here we have Tao's AT-RT mech. Okay, I get it now. This is meant to be the Horizon-looking creature from Bad Batch. Oh, this is just a dinosaur from the Jurassic World theme? I guess that makes sense as well. We are aware that giraffes aren't Jurassic. Anyway, I do really like this build. This is my favourite of the bunch, and it is a really cool build. I'm not a big fan of these double joints here and would really have liked Lego to have switched it up and really thought hard about doing something that's really different from the rest. I think this would have been a really good idea. Oh, Lego are really switching it up towards the end of this build. Z-Blob is no longer directly connected to that 2x2 jumper tile and instead is riding on a gun. And who else has guns and cars other than Transformers? Now, Transformers is technically a Creo theme and Lego hasn't had a theme, but we've got Brickheads, we've got some bigger Transformers. I feel like there's enough to be a theme rather than something like James Bond, another gun-car combination that only has a handful of sets, and I'm not sure we're getting any more anytime soon. So pair this with the last really good build and you've got a Jurassic Transformers mock in the works, and I think that could be an interesting movie. Hold on. Didn't they already do Transformers and dinosaurs? And finally, a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. This is the Star Wars build, which might not be the most Star Wars build, but it relates to a recent Lego build that we saw with the Rebel and Trooper battle pack, the Imperial Carrier Trooper Dropship. Oh, I can't remember the official name, but it showed up in one of the best Star Wars games, of all time. If we got a Lego version, that would be a great way to bring it back and get it introduced to new audiences. But I do like the way this was built. The front and the wings are all the same style of pieces connected on the joint, and it's a small, concise build. These builds are definitely getting quicker to put together as the instructions go on. Lego might have just rounded up to 20 and had a Star Wars set on the side, which is why they've built this. But I really like it. Z-Blob is back on that jumper tile, and we have another wheel as an engine. So a few ideas carried over, but this build still feels completely unique. The final build reminds me of last year's Creator 3-in-1 Jet Polybag, and unlike that Polybag, it would have been nice to have not only got some plane builds and car builds, as I feel like they made up almost half of these builds, but also to have got a boat build that looks something like this, because as you can see, there's clearly enough pieces in this set. That's all for today. Let me know down in the comments which themed build was your favourite, and may the bricks be with you always.